In this video, I will present to you the Yamaha PSR-E473. I'll talk a little bit about the characteristics of this keyboard and who is it made for, and I'll also show my timbre pack and my programmings for the PSR-E473 for churches. So, let's go! Very well, my friends. Welcome to the Piano Worship channel. My name is Andersório. If you're not subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe, because here you'll find everything about keyboard and piano for everyone who plays at the church or wants to play. I also invite you to check out my course, Piano Worship, a 100% Christian, 100% online keyboard and piano course for those of you that want to play at the church with excellence to the Lord. The link is in the description. So let's get into it. In this video, I will give you my opinion about the PSR-E473. I'll talk a little bit about its resources, what are its uses, who is it made for, and I'll also play in just a bit with the timbres that I made specifically for this keyboard. I'll also show you the rhythms, so in this video we'll talk about everything in this keyboard. But before anything, I'll show you some short excerpts of me playing with this keyboard at the church. That's so you can get a notion of how it sounds and also how it works and how it adds in the church context. So I'll let you watch and I'll come back later with the video. Very well. Now, let's do a general review of this instrument. First, we need to know in which category the PSR fits in, so that we can do a correct evaluation of all the resources. The PSR-E473 is an entry-level arranging keyboard. Entry-level arranging keyboard. Evidently, this is not the simplest arranging keyboard that Yamaha has. Yamaha has a lot of other keyboards in this category that are simpler, and of course a lot of other keyboards that are better too. When we talk about the most entry-level and basic keyboards from Yamaha, especially in the arranging category, the PSR is one of the most complete ones. So although it is an entry-level instrument, you still have access to a lot of resources on it. It has all the main tools to help you if you're starting right now on the keyboard and you want a basic instrument that also has everything you need to start on your musical journey. Before anything, I want to answer a question that was asked to me a lot of times in this channel, which is the following. What is an arranging keyboard and who is it made for? And it is very important to know how to differentiate between keyboards, because sometimes in my channel I get asked questions like, which one is better, a Casio CTX 5000 or an XPX 10? I always try and answer these questions, but if you look closely, they generally don't make a lot of sense, because you're comparing different types of keyboards. Arranging keyboards like the PSR-E have as their main focus providing the user with digital accompaniments or alternatively automatic accompaniments. So, arranging keyboards have as their main focus musicians who prioritize these accompaniments. As you saw at the start of the video, when I was playing, I pressed play and the keyboard played a backing track for me. There was bass, drums, a guitar. As I was playing in the right hand the music, my left hand was playing the chords, and along with these chords, I was controlling what the backing track was doing harmonically. So this is the main focus when we talk about arranging keyboards, backing tracks. It has other resources that allow for more things, but in general, that's the thing that defines them. Just so you can understand, here's a basic guide. The other category of keyboards are the synths, which are keyboards like the XPS-10, XPS-30, MX-61, CarCross 2, MODX, and etc. The synths are keyboards which their main focus is primarily timbres, sounds. That is their priority. In those keyboards you will find strings, leads, bells, pianos. That's their main focus, sounds, having a lot of different timbres and instruments with very high quality. Another category of keyboards are the workstations, keyboards like the Roland Phantom, Yamaha Motive, Korg Cronus. Workstation keyboards have as their main focus primarily music production. It's a keyboard for producers. And that's why workstation keyboards are very complete, almost always having a lot of different timbres. And also, on the keyboard you'll find elements of music productions for recording, editing, EQing, and finishing songs on the keyboard itself. And that's why, generally, the most expensive keyboards from each brand are these kinds of keyboards, because they are very complete. Another category of keyboards are the digital pianos. These keyboards, as their name says, have as their main focus the piano timbre. They have keys very similar to piano keys, they have speakers, so that's really their main focus, especially for domestic use. So normally they come with speakers and some kind of extra furniture so that they can look very nice in your home. But of course, they aren't just stay-at-home keyboards. You can also use them as normal keyboards in events. Next up, stage pianos, which have a similar purpose to digital pianos. The main difference between these two is that stage pianos are much more focused on live music presentations. It can be anywhere, churches, weddings, concerts. So that's why stage pianos normally have resources for live presentation specifically. A very similar purpose to digital pianos, the only difference being that digital pianos are made mostly for domestic use and stage pianos are normally made for live presentations. Another category are the stage keyboards, which comprise keyboards like the Nord Electro, the Yamaha YC, the Nord Stage, etc. The main focus of these stage keyboards is on the organ, the Raimond. It's a keyboard for those that want a timbre as close as possible to the one of the organ. You usually have controls like drawbars, and besides the organ timbres, you also have other great timbres for electric pianos and acoustic pianos. And the next category we will talk about are the controllers. But what is a controller keyboard? Controller keyboards are MIDI controllers, they don't have any sounds within them. So, if you want to use a controller keyboard, you need to have a digital audio workstation available, be it in your cell phone, in your computer, in your tablet. You need to connect your keyboard to that digital audio workstation, which has timbres, and with those timbres you can make sound with the keyboard. So you need to have your controller keyboard connected effectively with a computer, a tablet, or a PC that has a digital audio workstation or an audio library like Contact, for example. So, as you've noticed, there are different types of keyboards. But when it comes to the general world of keyboards, arranging keyboards are by far the most sold in the market. But why are these arranging keyboards so popular? That's because they have the most accessible price for anyone in the market. If you search for a keyboard today, I'm not going to talk about prices because prices changing a lot, like all the time because of inflation, etc., etc. But arranging keyboards are the cheapest in the market. So that's why arranging keyboards are very popular with beginners because they want a cheap instrument for their first steps, and when they get better at it, they get a better instrument. Of course, in the ideal scenario, you should buy a keyboard in the category that better suits what you're trying to do with your musical career. But of course, not everything can be ideal all the time. And it's for that reason that arranging keyboards are sold that much. They are very complete keyboards which are great for beginners. And I'd also like to answer another frequently asked question. Are arranging keyboards recommended for church players? And this is a very important question, because the Piano Worship channel is indeed a channel focused on keyboardists and pianists who play at the church or want to play. So that's a very relevant question. So, are arranging keyboards recommended for church players? The answer is yes and no. But why yes and no? Because it depends on what you need, what is the musical context of your church, what is the liturgy in your services and meetings, what is the repertoire that you normally play. So for example, the first thing I want to ask you is, where you're planning to play, are you going to play alone or with other musicians? And why am I asking you this? Because if you're playing alone, it can be a good option to play with an arranging keyboard since their focus is playing backing tracks for you while you play. And that includes almost all the instruments that you would need in a normal setup, so it is a very good choice if you are going to play alone. However, if you are playing with a drummer, or maybe a guitarist, or maybe a bassist, or something like that, an arranging keyboard might not be the most optimal choice, because it is kind of pointless having backing tracks when you're already playing with other musicians. So that's kind of where we draw the line. Are you playing with other musicians or are you playing by yourself? Another important aspect is the liturgy of your own church. For example, some churches opt for a more silenced sound quality to their songs. So if you're playing just a piano, normally it's enough for them. They don't play a lot of loud songs. But if you play in a church where normally the songs that are played are much more vivid and happy, an arranging keyboard might be a great choice for you, especially if you're playing alone, just to get that kind of whole band vibe with a lot of energy put into it. So just to make it clear, I'm going to show you an example using one of the classic songs, Foi na Cruz. Just to give you an idea, if your church is a little bit quieter, normally the song is played like this.
Por exemplo, bem suave. Ó, com cego andei e perdido vaguei, longe, longe do meu Salvador. Mas do céu ele desceu e teu sangue verteu.
So, if it is normally performed like this, just a piano with a pad is already enough for you. You don't need a whole band for this. But your church might like to play songs with a little bit more energy, like this.
Ó, com cego andei e perdido vaguei, longe, longe do meu Salvador. Mas do céu ele desceu. Percebeu?
Did you get it? So, same song, different context. So that's why you need to evaluate if you need an arranging keyboard or not. Down here in the description, I'm going to leave 2 links for 2 different videos. One where I talk about 10 keyboards that I recommend in the synth category, and another video where I recommend different digital pianos. So you can check them out later and get to know better the price ranges and the resources of the category of keyboards that suits you better, okay? So check them out later. So in the PSR's case, it is an entry-level arranging keyboard which is still very complete. So now I'm finally going to show you my timbre pack for the Yamaha PSR-E473 for churches. And in showing my timbre pack, I'm also going to give you a deeper and better notion about this instrument and how we use these timbres and etc. I'm also going to make it clear here that this timbre pack was made for and only works for the PSR E473. And only for the PSR E473. It does not work for other keyboards, not even the ones from Yamaha. If you are looking for a timbre pack for your keyboard, you might want to take a look at my other videos and see if you can find it, but this one is specifically made for the PSR E473. And for who do I recommend this timbre pack? I recommend it for you who has the keyboard or is thinking about purchasing it, but is still not very familiar with the concept of programming timbres and adjusting controls. So, completing the installation of this pack, which is a very fast process, only takes about 5 minutes to complete, you'll have great timbres and a lot of controls that I programmed for you so you can play at your church. And that's the main purpose of this timbre pack, saving your time, so you can buy the keyboard, install the pack, and go play right after. And after you're used to the system, you can start making your own presets. So this pack will save your time, get you the best results you can, so you can go directly to the action. So next, what does this timbre pack actually have? Well, for starters, you'll have access to 10 timbres that I've personally programmed. 10 timbres, which, remembering, have more focus on players who are going to play at the church. In just a little bit, I'll be showing you how you can find these timbres on the keyboard. It is very simple, don't worry. Right as you turn it on, they will be available for you to play, so be rest assured. So, you'll have access to 10 timbres in total. You'll also have access to 12 continuous pads. But what are they? These are sounds that you use as backgrounds as you play. I'll load up an example here for you. So, this one here is in G major.
Ah lá, eu não estou tocando no teclado. Então,
these are very common in modern worship songs. You just let it play and play along with it. Cool? So you'll have access to 12 pads like this. You install it along with the rest of the pack and play along with it using your keyboard. I'll show you how they work in detail in just a bit. And there are 12 because it is one for each key. You'll also have access to 4 musical backgrounds. I always like to add them on my timbre packs when it's possible, because they are very practical for you. You use them on days where you don't want to make musical backgrounds yourself, you just let them play. You'll have backgrounds like this one, for example. Notice that I'm not playing anything, it's only the background. You can use them whenever you think is needed. So, one more inclusion for you on the timbre pack. In this pack, you will also find a list of Christian songs with the rhythms of the PSR-E473. So what is this all about? Well, I created a list with over 100 Christian songs on it, with a lot of variety also, from the oldest Christian songs to the more modern contemporary Christian music. So a list of Christian songs that you can play along with the rhythms that come on the keyboard. After you make the purchase, I'll show these in more detail. But basically, what I did was I took 8 rhythms from the keyboard. I did not program these rhythms, they are already from the keyboard, and I made a list with them. In this list, I show you which of these rhythms go well with which Christian songs. And as I said, there's a lot of recommendations. So, as I've said, I recommended these 8 rhythms for over 100 Christian songs, so you can have a good repertoire to play at your church in a lot of different occasions. I'll talk more about this list in just a little bit. And besides all that, you'll also get my exclusive support via email. So, after you make the purchase of the timbre pack, you'll get access to my exclusive email where you can send your questions and doubts about the installation process, and I'll be readily available to help you in any difficulties you may have. But you can be rest assured that the process for the installation is very easy and very simple. After you make the purchase, I will also send you a video where I explain step by step how to do it. In this video, I'm going to explain how you can get the files from your computer to your device, how you can set up your keyboard, and in less than 10 minutes, you'll be able to play with your keyboard and the timbres from the timbre pack. But even then, if you have any troubles, I'll be readily available to help you in the installation. And before I show you the timbre pack, I have something important to say. And that is that the only extra thing you need to have in order to buy this timbre pack is a computer or a laptop for the installation process. And that's because I will send you the file through your email. From there, you're going to download it on your computer and later on pass it to a USB device. And then you pass it from your device to your keyboard. So you need to have a computer or a notebook. So I only recommend you buy this timbre pack if you have a computer or a laptop, or else have someone else do this part of the process for you. Okay? So that's all I gotta say. So it's a very simple process. Just take the file from the email, pass it to your computer, from your computer to your USB device, and from your USB device to your keyboard. Simple. And that's it. Now let's finally see what the timbre pack has to offer for us. So before we talk about the timbres, let me first show you how you will be able to find them on your keyboard. So after you make the purchase, I will send you a video explaining step by step how to install the timbre pack. There you're going to see that all the timbres from the timbre pack are going to be in this bank right here. Registration memory. So here you can see that we have 4 timbres. But as I've said before, there are a total of 10. So how can you find them? So right as you turn it on, all the timbres will be here. The first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. If you want to find the other ones, you'll have to press the button Bank. Here you can see what it does. So here we have registration memory 1. If I press the bank button, it changes to 2, 3, 4, 5, all of this all the way to the bank 8. So when you turn it on, it'll be on bank 1 with 4 timbres. But if you press it, now we're on to bank 2, and here we have 4 more timbres. And here on bank 3, we have the 2 remaining timbres. So here it is. We have 4 timbres on bank 1, 4 timbres on bank 2, and also 2 timbres on bank 3. This was just a quick demonstration. After you make the purchase, I will send you a video that explains better how you can access these timbres. Having completed the installation, now I'm going to show you all the timbres from 1 to 10. Timbre number 1 is a piano. Very beautiful piano timbre. I just made some minor edits with it, and I also played it at the church. Amazing sound, especially for an arranging keyboard, so fantastic timbre. The second timbre is a piano with a pad. I also edited this timbre. You will not find this pad anywhere on the keyboard, and it is a very nice sound for you to play at the church. Both this timbre and the one that I just showed you work very well along with a continuous pad. Here, let me show you. I'll play the one in E. It is so cool, guys, to see that even an entry-level keyboard can have such beautiful sounds on it that you can use to play such beautiful songs. It is very pleasing to hear, especially along with the continuous pad. The third timbre that we have here, still on bank 1, is a piano with strings. And if I play it along with a continuous pad, just listen. The fourth timbre that we have here, which is a must in every single timbre pack, is an electric piano. Cool. So now we're on to bank 2, where here we have a Rhodes piano. What a timbre, guys. And here, same thing. If you add a continuous pad, Great stuff. Next up, we have some strings.
Eita, que timbre bonito, hein?
In this strings timbre, I put here in the all voice some staccato, and this is how I'd use it. And after the introduction, you give it some punch. And you can alternate.
Olha o staccato.
So, in the all voice button, you have the option to turn staccato on and off. Timbre number 3, still on bank 2. Here we have the essential organ timbre. This organ timbre has some higher frequencies because I like to use it for solos or when I'm in company during the higher points of the music, as you saw in the videos of me playing at the church. So keep in mind that it is a more aggressive organ sound. So yeah, it is a heavier sound, but keep in mind that if you want some lighter organ sounds, you can find those in the keyboard itself. But for what I like to use the organ for, the sound is perfect for me. So next up in timbre number 4, we have a brass section. How cool is that? So it is a brass timbre that I edited to be in octaves, so if you play in just one hand, you already get that big sound without using both of your hands. If you use both hands, it's good, but with just one, regardless if you use both hands, it is going to sound cool. And here on bank 3, timbre number 1, we have a lead sound. If you use the lead sound along with this button right here, you get this cool effect. And besides this control, I also put the cutoff of the timbre in the live control, so you can do things like this. You also saw me using this resource in some of the videos of me playing. And to finish with the timbres, the second timbre of bank 3, another very cool sound, is an accordion timbre. Of course, all of these edited personally by me. So now I'm gonna show you some of the rhythms from the PSR-E473. Just want to reinforce that none of the rhythms I'm showing here are sent in the timbre pack. All of the rhythms I'm using are from the keyboard itself. Something that I already talked about in the video about the Casio CTX 5000 and 3000 is that the rhythm resources that you, church player, use are different from people that play at weddings, at birthday parties, parties in general, etc. And why is that? Normally, you find online people selling rhythms for other music genres like pop, rock, electronic, etc. And normally, those rhythms are interesting to use because, depending on genre, obviously, with just one of these rhythms, you can play an artist's entire EP. So for example, you buy the standard pop rhythms pack from X artists. Normally, this pack is going to be enough to play that artist's entire EP. So depending on genre, normally we talk about genres that have repeatable rhythms, repeatable formulas. It is going to be very worth it to buy rhythms that you can play entire repertoires with. But for church players like us, that's not the case. And why is that? Because let's take for example a singer like Cassiani. In one EP with 10 songs, you can be certain that in these 10 songs she used a different rhythm, different composition in every single one of them. The same thing applies for a singer like Jefferson Rufino. 10 songs, each one very different. So for church players, we really have two options. The first being making a unique rhythm for every single song, which some people do, but I especially find it very jarring, unless you like to make unique rhythms for every single song. So that's one way of doing things. The other one being taking the rhythms from your keyboard and adapting and editing them to the songs that you're currently playing. So that's what I did. I took 8 rhythms from the keyboard itself, standard ones, and I made a list of songs that you can play using each one of them. Of course, it's not going to be identical to the original ones. For example, I put here a rhythm to play along with Ja by Midian Lima. And that's because in the original song, the drummer and the guitarist and all the musicians add a lot more flair in between phrases and throughout the entire music. So in a keyboard like this one, which has only 2 rhythm variations, it would be impossible to make it sound exactly like the original one. So what do? We find a rhythm that stays mostly in line with the original one and doesn't interfere with the melody and the harmony, and play along using it. It's not perfect, but you can play along with it. In the tutorial video that I'm going to send to you, it is explained in detail how you can find these rhythms and this list and everything else, so don't worry about it. But for now, I want to show you all some of the songs that you can play using the rhythms from the PSR-E473, so that you can have an idea for what to expect when playing along with the rhythms of the keyboard. And to do this, I'm going to be asking for the help of my wife, Eula, who is going to be singing these songs as I'm playing them, so that you can get an idea of how they sound and how can I perform them using the rhythms of the keyboard.
Aquilo que parecia impossível, aquilo que parecia não ter saída, aquilo que parecia quão grande é o meu Deus, cantarei quão grande é o meu Deus, e todos hão de ver, para que entre o Rei Jesus, o Rei da glória, eu abro meu coração, eu abro meu coração. Jó, como pode ainda adorar, se não tem motivos pra cantar? Abandona esse Deus e morre. Mas sofrer contigo é bem melhor do que errar. Perdoa-me, porque às vezes não consigo nem falar. Logo as lágrimas meus olhos veem. Quando coral. Verei anjos e querubins ali reunidos, cantando hosanas ao Rei. Breve este meu pensamento será realidade, pois pra lá voarei. Fala, Jesus querido, fala-me hoje sim. Fala como seguir a Jesus, levar a cruz. Sem Cristo comigo vai, eu irei. Sua face e rendemo-nos a ti, pois dia tua morte trouxe vida a todos. O homem das mãos furadas está passando por aqui. Sinta ele aí, sinta ele aí. O homem das mãos furadas está passando por aqui. Visa de fogo, varão de guerra, ele desceu pra terra, ele chegou pra guerrear. Visa de fogo, varão de guerra, ele desceu pra terra, ele chegou pra guerrear.
Now I'm going to be showing you how you can use the continuous pads and the musical backgrounds when playing with this keyboard. After you install the pack, the timbres from the timbre pack are going to be in your keyboard system normally. Even after you take your USB device off, everything is going to be here. But the continuous pads and musical backgrounds require that you leave it connected to your keyboard, because the keyboard can't save these files, so it needs to read your device, take these files so that it can play. So after the device is connected to your keyboard, you press the button Song Audio. You press it once more, and here we have the continuous pads. And now you can use this knob to move in between the keys so that you can play in the key that you want. Sometimes it's not in order, but we have here all the 12 notes. And here are the musical backgrounds. So let's suppose I'm going to use the continuous pad in C. I selected it, and now I just need to press play. Now that the pad is playing, I can play over it. And when I wanted to pause, I just press the same button again, the Start-Stop button. And that's basically it. You press it to play, and then press it to stop, and that applies to both continuous pads and musical backgrounds. An important thing to say is that I programmed the continuous pad to play at a fixed volume that I judge to be preferable if you want to play over it. You can see that if I press play, the volume is controlled. This resource for me today, the option to have continuous pads for me to play along with, it's absolutely indispensable. I need to have it. It is also indispensable for you if you are church indispensable for you, because it lets you play without using timbres that have lots of pads and reverbs and etc. Sometimes it is okay to use very layered timbres, but when you're playing a passage or a song that has a lot of different notes, a lot of different chords, it can become a little bit mushy, the sound. So sometimes it is good to have continuous pads so that you can play your part like this, and use the continuous pad as a background for you. And that's basically it. If this video got you interested in buying this pack, the link is down in the description down below, and the pack is sent immediately for you. And you also can contact me in my email in case you have any difficulties in your installation. A tight hug, God bless, and I see you later.